Hey everyone, this is Bound here, and this is a video I've been wanting to do for a very long time, but I wanted to gain more experience in Generation High competitive before talking about it, and that is stall breaking. So there's a lot of new stall Pokemon and just bulky Pokemon in general that have been introduced in Generation 9 with insane inflation in stats. So we have like Dozo, Skeleturge, Gargasalt, Clodsire, Tinglu are 5 of the ones that I want to talk about, and these Pokemon have like influence the meta in a huge way, especially Dozo and Gargasalt. These are the main 2 that I want to be talking about, but all these Pokemon and their abilities, stats, moves, and just like insane just utility have just warped the meta into forcing specific counterplay and just a solider game. So what I'm going to talk about first is Dozo, because the Dozo is definitely, or not, I wouldn't say definitely, but probably one of the most annoying Pokemon to face in the game because of its just combination of just insane just garbage it has. Like, it's insane how it gets access to all this utility with Unaware, and like Pokemon with Unaware shouldn't have these stats. Like 150 health, 100 attack, 115 defense, 60, like it's slow, but it doesn't matter because of how bulky it is. It can eat up like so many hits. It can fish for like fissures, wave crashes, yawn. It can spam yawn, so it's for your opponent is forced to switch over and over on yawn. It just turns every time Dozo comes in, the game just stops. Like the pace of the match just completely goes away. There's no pace because Dozo controls everything. So yeah, fissure is a huge problem. Like this is like one of the main reasons why Dozo is used so much, because of fissure. So that means that a lot of setup Pokemon, or just a lot of like Pokemon that want to like take Dozo's wave crashes or just switch in, has to fear fissure. So it forces specific counterplay in the fact that you need the fissure immunity, or else Dozo is free to throw them out. And also yawn can be pretty annoying. Like if Dondozo's spamming yawn, you can't, if one of your Pokemon falls asleep to the yawn, that's just going to give the Dozo player free opportunity to sub on another Pokemon, or just stall even more and get more leftovers of recovery with Dozo. So the good thing about it though is that it doesn't, or the good thing about playing against Dozo is that it doesn't get reliable recovery besides from rest. But Dozos actually like use rest in their moveset sometimes. So you have rest. What they would do is like put rest, sleep talk instead of yawn and protect, and that actually makes it so that Dozo can just stall, like turn the game into a complete stall fest and be fine. And like Dozo doesn't even have to like run a Chesto Berry to like have a rest set because of how bulky it is. It can just take multiple hits, wake up, and then just be fine. Like it's insane. And so what I've been doing to counter Dozo is I've had a Serena in the past that had like Sweet Veil, so I could switch into yawns over and over, and that helped my team reliably like just play against like yawn teams, which were very common. Now the meta's kind of changed a little bit, but Dozo is still very common. Like as you've seen, it's still top 10 usage. So yeah, pretty insane. I'm running Rotom right now on my team, and this helps a lot against Dozo because it's immune to fissure, resists wave crash, and just threatens a lot of damage. It can trick. Trick is another counterplay to stall that I'm Trick is another counterplay to stall that I'm experimenting with, because you could trick a choice item and then the stall Pokemon can't set up or just play the game in general. Can't recover reliably. It just makes it way easier. And there's also other moves in the game that help against stall, like Taunt and Encore. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah. And I'm also running Magic Bounce as well to just bounce back all the status moves that the stall Pokemon want to do. And Cobra Cloak helps. You'll see why in a second. So yeah, Dozo, I have 2 Pokemon that are immune to fissure, and then I can threaten a lot of damage against it as well. And it's very specific how Dozo, like you kill Dozo, because you really need a super effective like stab move to kill it. Like it's actually insane, because its bulk is just so inflated. You just can't, it's hard to naturally kill it before it gets a rest off or just protects over and over. And just fissures or yawns or whatever get you to sleep, and then your momentum is gone. So yeah, it's an insane Pokemon. But the next one I want to talk about is Gargasalt, because this Pokemon is so insanely broken, it's not even funny. You have, this is the set that I've been running into in Master Ball, and I just have I don't even know what to do anymore against it. Like, I'm just a loss for words how to deal with it with my current team at least, because I used to run this Take a Ton spread, which was purely for Gargasalt. Like, Salt Cure doesn't work on Cobra Cloak, and then I can encore it into its setup and just Swords Dance for free. This was very specific to be that, and I'm still wondering if I want to bring this back, because this Gargasalt is still very common, and it's especially in like top Master Ball tier. Like, this Pokemon is everywhere because it just wins way more than it should. Like, the distribution of usage on this Pokemon is very skewed to the top of Master Ball tier. And if you've seen some of my streams, you've already seen like enough of this Pokemon, because it's just everywhere up there. Like, it's actually insane. So what makes this Pokemon so good is that there's several reasons. Because first of all, its stats are, what is this? So you got 100 health, 130 physical defense, or 90 special defense. So this is some of the bulkiest defensive profile I've ever seen. Like, on a regular Pokemon, not like a legendary, but this is insane. And then it's slow, which is fine for a tank. And then Purifying Salt is really weird. Like, I don't even know how they thought this was okay. So Ghost damage is halved. So what I've been seeing a lot is Terra Ghost, and Ghost isn't super effective because of Purifying Salt. So when this thing goes Terra Ghost, it goes from like having 4 or 5 weaknesses with the rock to having 1, and that's Dark, which is absolutely insane for a defensive Pokemon. And then you can't even status it either. So no toxic spikes, no toxic, no burn or paralyzed. You can't do anything to stall it out. It just sits there over and over and just stalls. And with Curse and Ghost typing, this means you can get past Cobra Cloak Pokemon. So if I want to like switch in Hatterene to a Salt Cure, take no damage from Salt Cure, like residual damage, and then set up Calm Mind, it doesn't even help if the Garg is cursing, because then I would just lose over time, because I can't heal enough with Draining Kiss. It curses, protects, and stalls, and recovers. It's just so annoying. So yeah, my biggest piece of advice on this is to have Encore, or just Encore or Trick probably is the best way of dealing with it. So I have Trick on my Rotom Mow. Like I said, it helps against stall Pokemon not being able to set up and just play the game. So yeah, this is a new concept I've actually used in competitive 3v3. Like, I haven't used Trick at all ever. So this is, I mean, it's been pretty cool. I've actually tricked a few of these Pokemon and just won because of that. Now, you just have to be careful with them predicting your trick, because if they switch out and then you trick the wrong Pokemon, this thing will just win. Like, it's hard for me to just put into words how hard it is to play against this Pokemon, because it just can deal with so many matchups. And the moves can vary a lot, because you have Body Press, Iron Defense sets are really good as well. It gets a one-hit KO move, Fissure, like if it really needed that. But if you're staying like a full stall team and this thing is on it, it's actually very likely to have Fissure, because it needs that. There's no high damage on the team. So like, you have to be like, it's crazy how much this thing threatens in the metagame. And this thing's existence solely has brought the item Cobra Cloak into the meta. Aside with the Espathra Lumina Crash, but this is the main thing. Like, it's actually insane how much this Pokemon warps the meta. And also a lot of Pokemon in general. So talking about these unaware Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon in general are running Choice Specs and Choice Band, because that's just how you have to go Unga sometimes. You have to be able to break through the unaware Pokemon. And it's just, not only are these Pokemon having unaware, their defensive profile is just outright better than every other Pokemon with Unaware, or just like every other Pokemon in the game. And then they have Unaware on top of that. So it's like this thing, like these Pokemon just get insane amounts of value for no reason, and then people are just forced to run Choice Band and Choice Specs to hopefully two-shot it when it comes in, or just like that, because Unaware you can't set up against it, and then you need to get rid of it, or else it's gonna hit you with a Fissure, hit you with a Yawn, or in Skeletor's case it can just cripple you with Will-O-Wisp or Torch Song. Clodsire can also Yawn and Toxic, and just even set up on its own. Like Clodsire has setup options. I haven't really seen that much, but Clodsire actually is really threatening with setup. Like it just becomes unkillable, and like that's just the thing with all these Pokemon. They're kind of just unkillable if you don't have the right coverage, which is pretty common to have like that problem because of Terra type as well. So even if you do have the coverage, they can just Terra out of that situation. Like I've seen Terra Grass and Dragon Dozo. I've seen like just so many. It feels like they're just random types because they can just get away with it. Because all that matters is they take that one hit and then Fissure you or just Yawn or whatever. So yeah, Clodsire and Skeledirge. What I do to play against those Pokemon is first of all, I have Mold Breaker with a setup, so Dragon Dance can, go through the Mold Breaker, and then Earthquake will just destroy that after Dragon Dance because Mold Breaker just goes through Unaware, and then Lumberry gives me a safety against Yawn and Will-O-Wisp and stuff like that, so that ensures like the setup of Dragon Dance against these Pokemon, and yeah, that's just how I have to deal with it. And I also have this Hatterene, which completely just messes up Clodsire because it can't Yawn or Toxic, and then Clodsire does no damage. You can just Side Shock it, do a lot. And Clodsire has terrible physical defense, so Side Shock is going to do an insane amount of damage. So, yeah. And then there's also Pokemon that are going to be allowed in Battle Stadium singles in a week. Ting-Lu. This Pokemon is outrageous. Like, what is this Pokemon? Like, look at these stats. 155 HP, 125 physical defense, 80 special defense, and Vessel Ruin just kind of increases that special defense by 25%, or decreases the special attack of your opponent by 25%, but that's in turn kind of increase your special defense. So yeah, this special defense probably becomes like over 100, which is pretty insane. So yeah, this is probably one of the tankiest Pokemon of all time, and its moves like learn set is not okay because it gets Stealth Rock, Whirlwind. So this Pokemon guarantees it. There's no way. There's very few tools in the game that can one-shot Ting-Lu, and if that is the case, it requires a Choice Band or a Choice Specs. There is no other way to deal with this Pokemon. Or at least get rid of it before it even does anything, because it's just gonna tank every hit. And like, for example, like if you're, I don't know, let me look at my team. Rotom Leaf Storm probably does like 30% to Ting-Lu, or just 40% because of how bulky it is. Like, it's actually insane how busted this thing is, and let's not even consider the Terra type. So if Ting-Lu even finds himself in a bad situation, Terra type actually like makes it impossible to kill. And when it Terra types and then gets rid of your Pokemon that you wanted to use to kill Ting-Lu, it just stalls out the rest of the game, or just wins, because it also gets insane just coverage. So Earthquake, right, I didn't mean to click that. Earthquake, Throat Chop, stab moves that can do a lot. You don't even have to invest into attack to do a lot of damage. And if you do like full defense Ting-Lu, like physical defense, you can just put Body Press and just not invest. Like, this is going to do a lot of damage with 125 defense, and then it gets Fissure. So that's also a huge problem with the game balance that I don't like in this generation. They gave the most bulky Pokemon possible the opportunity to Fissure. this is a very big problem, and this is probably the thing I hate the most about this generation, is that these Pokemon just win way too many matchups because of that. You can't. So Tinglu is one of the most bulky Pokemon in the game, and you can't set up against it because it has Fissure, Whirlwind, and just other options that make a lot of Pokemon want to fear it. So yeah, that's just very unfortunate for just the balance of the game. I don't know how much Tinglu is going to be used in ranked when it comes out, but I can probably assure you it's going to be in the top 5 for the rest of the game's duration. I think. I don't know. It's going to be top 10 or top 5. It's going to be very, very strong. I don't know what their moves are going to be running. I'm assuming they're going to be like Stealth Rock, Whirlwind, Earthquake, and maybe Ruination. I don't know if how many are going to like run Fissure, but if they do run Fissure, that's going to be a huge problem because that kind of removes a lot of Pokemon's ability to 1v1 it. So yeah, this is just a crazy Pokemon, and it's also Fissure's also gonna force a lot of Terra Flying Pokemon too, because like you need to you want to be able to set up against a Pokemon like Tinglu, and then just take advantage of it sitting there and being passive. Well, but it's not really passive because of Ruination and all that. So yeah. So in general, to wrap up the video, I wanted to say that your best way of dealing with stall is Encore, Taunt, and Mold Breaker with setup. So, and also tricking a choice item onto a tank Pokemon, but that isn't as reliable because they can just predict that, and then if you trick the wrong Pokemon, that strategy's gone for the rest of the game. So yeah, Mold Breaker with setup is really good. Like this Tinkaton can do well against Skeleton Urge if it gets a Swords Dance, Garg if it just gets an Encore in the right place, Clodsire, Swords Dance, Gigaton Hammer just one-shots it, and Tinglu, if it Encores Tinglu into the right move, it can just set up and win. So yeah, this Pokemon that I've built combines multiple star breaking aspects into one. So Covert Cloak, Mold Breaker, and Encore, and Swords Dance all in the same Pokemon. So wall breaking capabilities, Encore for anti-stall, and you got that Mold Breaker to ignore unaware. So this is like one of my biggest examples right now of stall breaking. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that video, and I hope you all learned something from that. And yeah, these Pokemon are pretty insane just to deal with, but yeah, I want to make more of these analysis videos in the future, so hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all next time.